Hi there, welcome to my channel again. So we are out with the family today and we are up in the mountains, and I figured that I would give you a little bit of the view that I'll be working with today. And you can crochet anywhere. That's a bit of why I love this art. I can just pack a bag and I can go anywhere and just look up at that mountain and that sky. Beautiful. Wow. And this is going to serve as the spot for my crochet today. Hi there. Good morning. And here's a video that has been requested by my friends for a very long time, because they have always seen me crocheting, and sometimes they want their kids to crochet, sometimes they want to learn how to crochet and they have no idea how it's done. And even right now I sent out a little survey to them and they said okay, they would rather me start with a scarf. So today I'm going to do how to crochet, and we're going to start at the very beginning, as if you had no idea how this is done, and then we're going to move on from there. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce you to yarn. And when you go to the yarn shops, and disclosure, I'm not sponsored by any of them, but the popular ones are like Michael's and Joann's and Hobby Lobby, and of course sometimes even your Dollar General. If you go in there, you'll find that they have yarn. So basically you can look for yarn anywhere that craft is sold, but those are the major ones. When you go in and you get to the yarn aisle, so many yarn to choose from. How do you choose, and how do you match it with a needle? This is a yarn crochet needle or hook. So here yarn comes and they tell you, each usually comes with a wrapper, unless of course you go to like sometimes the Salvation Army or the thrift store and you're just getting somebody's used stuff, and it probably won't come with a wrapper. And you can understand that it's not new at that point, or sometimes they do. But if you go to the yarn store and, oh, I forgot about Walmart, you'll see a wrapper. And what you want to look for after you've chosen the color you like, which is up and, you know, looking what suits you, then based on what you're doing, on the label, it should tell you what the size of the yarn is. And here, this one is telling us that it's a size 4 medium. It's telling us what it's made of, 100% acrylic. And then right here, you see how that looks just like our crochet hook? Right there, it tells you what size hook goes with this yarn. According to this yarn today, a US I9 or 5.5 millimeters is what is recommended, guys, because based on the project you're doing, sometimes even though the recommended size is on the wrapper, you may choose to go higher or lower. Lower in numbers, say a 5.5 would be a smaller hook. Higher in numbers, say a 6 or a 6.5 would be a larger hook. So the smaller the millimeter numbers, the smaller the hook. And the larger the millimeter numbers, the larger the hook. Same thing, they sometimes use letters as well. So a 5.5 millimeter will always be an I hook. So if sometimes you will see a pattern and they say it calls for an I hook, a USI, and that's going to be a 5 millimeter hook. So it goes through B, C, D, E, F, G. I think I have one that's even a P or a Q hook, I think. And basically just the further down the alphabet it goes, it's a bigger hook. So that's that. So you find it there. So that's an acrylic yarn, size 4, and this is usually what you use for your scarves and your hats and your afghans. Size 4 is a very popular yarn, very versatile. Here we have cotton, and again it tells you it's 100% cotton. It tells you that it requires a 5 millimeter or a H hook. So you see that tells you. It also tells you how much meters or yards is on there, and if you're reading a pattern, most patterns will tell you how much yardage you need, and then based on that you know how many to buy. And cotton, you know, I use this particular cotton for household things like pot holders and placemats and bath scrubbies, you know, kitchen scrubbies, and also poofs. And yeah, we do make poofs from that. And then this is one of my specialty yarn. It's a locally made yarn, and guys, as you follow me, we're going to do some of that. We're going to visit some of our local manufacturers on the farms and see how they, you know, weave yarn for us. But this is a yarn that's of natural fibers, and it's 30% alpaca, 10% Ukiah alpaca, 40% wool, 20% silk. And yeah, it's a size 1. You see how small that fiber is. But this is like a specialty yarn, guys. This would be what you use to make your luxury scarf, and it's going to cost you a little bit more. For example, you see the price on that written on, it's I pay like $25.50 just for this, but it's luxury. You pay for the luxury and to support your local farmers. And here's one. I grew up using this yarn as well, and if you're Jamaican or Caribbean, this is probably what you were used to. This is what we used to do everything, and we used different hooks for that. You know, this is what we used to make our bathing suit and our doilies and all that. That's what we grew up making. And if you take a look here, this is my little travel-all pouch. You see, it has all the different size hooks that go along with it. So this one is a size 1.5. So here's a 1.25, how tiny it is, and so on. All right, so that's that. So now that you know how to choose a yarn and how to choose a hook, let's start by putting them together and doing a project. And today, because of ease, I'm going to be using this larger yarn with my favorite size hook, which is the 0.5, the size I. How to hold your yarn? Well, you just want to feed enough yarn so that there's not too much there, and begin with what we call a slip knot. So I use my thumb and my forefinger to control my yarn and to hold my yarn, and then I just wrap it over and under through my fingers, and this is just to guide the yarn. Then I push my hook under, and guys, most people crochet with the hook facing them, and that's how I learned. If you can figure out how to do, I've seen somebody crochet and their hook is facing the other direction, and kudos to them, but this is how I do it. Forgive me guys, it's really windy out here today, okay? But we go, and with your hook facing you under, you make a full 360 turn, then you go out, and you're gonna use that hook to grab that yarn and pull it through, and you have just made a slip knot. And then to chain, that's usually how most patterns start. So this pattern today, we're going to do 27 chains. We're making a scarf, beginner scarf, and we go 1, which is just go under and pull through. Under, use that hook to get that chain and pull through, and we will chain loosely just to make sure that it's not too tight. and we've gone 3 or 2, we can start again. So we're back down to our slip knot, and let's count 27 together. That is usually abbreviated CH. So CH is short for chain, and that's what we just did. Just put the hook under and pull it through, and you get, it looks like a chain. Now the next stitch I want to share with you, which is another basic stitch, and guys, crochet is not difficult. All those beautiful patterns are based on making a mixture of some of these simple stitches over and over. To make a DC, we yaw one time, so we had got one on there, and we're going to put this stitch in the 4th chain from hook. So we're going to count, not the one that's on the hook, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one, and when we have yawed, then we're going to go in through there, grab the yarn, pull through. So now we have 3 pieces on the yarn on the hook, and we're going to go through, and we pull through 2, pick up 1, pull through 2, and you have a DC. Want to see that again? All right, let's see that again. A DC, and a DC, that's how it's abbreviated. Letter D, letter C, DC, and it's short for double crochet. And this is US terminology. There's US and there's English terminology. And in the US, it's a stitch off from the English. So this what I'm showing you today is the American way. So it's 1, a DC, yaw 1, go into the desired stitch, pull up 1, now you have 3. Oh, that wind is really going, guys. Pull through 2, pick up, pull through 2. Want to show it again? Go down, get 1, through the stitch, pull through 1. Now you have 3 on the hook. Pick up 1, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now we're going to put 1 in each of these chain stitches all the way across. So go ahead, guys, do that stitch and meet me back. So at the end you should, okay guys, so we've gotten all the way across, and we're at this last part with this where that first stitch is. So you see this knot that we pulled tight, that was a slip knot, but now this last chain is where we're going to put our last, well, the first chain is where we're going to put our last DC. Now somebody asked me about the corners. I think Cutie, that was you, Cutie on my YouTube channel. I think you asked about the corners. So there are several ways to get a straight corner. I'm going to give you one of the easiest ways, I think. It's the chain 1 method. So we just chain 1 for turning, and we're going to pretend that chain 1 doesn't count for anything. It's just to bring up the row, and then just put whatever your first stitch is in the first stitch. So here's that first stitch, and we're going to put DCs in and put the DC in. That's how I get my corner. And then this pattern, we're going to work in the back loops. Learn a lot of things here today in this first video. So we're going to DC, and if you turn the top of your chain, the top of your work, you see these beautiful chains lined up, and you see 1 in the front, 1 stitch in the front, 1 in the back, right? 2 of them on top. So this time we're going to go through, instead of going through all 2 here, we're going to go on top, and we're going to just go through the back one, and we're going to pick up our thread. We have 3 because it's a DC, and we do 1, finish. Again, your ones, go through the back loop, and we're going to pull through our yarn. Now we have 3 as usual because it's a DC. Yo, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, it's yo, this beautiful V, we're going through the back. Yo, pull through. Yo, pull through 2. Yo, pull through 2. And that's what we're going to do all the way across, guys, in the back loop only. Meet me at the end of the row. So we have come to the end of round 2. And what do we have? This is what it looks like. See what looks clearly like the V, the telltale V that we've gone in the back. All right, so let's put 1 in there. And this is where a lot of people get their edges confused or, you know, forget about. So you get there and you look now and there's no more V's. No more V's. But look, there is this chain 3 that we had skipped at the beginning of that beginning chain when we've put that first DC, and it counts as a DC, and we're going to put 1 DC in it, and we're going to find a nice spot at the top of it, that chain 3, and we're going to go through it and put a DC in. And see, guys, now look at that edge, beautiful. Now round 3. Remember we said we're going to use the chain 1 method, so we chain 1, then we turn, and we're going to do, and for me, what I do when I'm doing this back loop only pattern, which gives me the ridges, I don't do it for my first stitch. My first stitch gets a solid, I go through both loops, and that's how I keep my edges straight. I mean, everybody does their thing differently. And then in the second one is where I start to go in the back loop only, right? So the first one we go through both loops, and the rest of them all the way to the last one. The last one and the first one I go through the 2 loops, and yo, and we're making DCs, guys. Double crochet, remember, double crochet. This pattern is all about double crochet, and this pattern is such a simple pattern that if you want to jazz it up, I suggest using like a yarn that changes colors, has many colors in it, because a rule I go by is if the yarn is simple, like plain color, then this is the yarn you would want to use to do all your fancy designs. If you're doing a simple pattern, then you get fancy yarn. But I'm using this plain color one today just because I'm teaching and I wanted you to be able to see where everything goes. So that's it. That's it for this tutorial today. What we wrap over, yo, pull through 2, pull through 2. Yo, back loop only, pull through 2, pull through 2. And we are going to do it. You have learned how to make the turning stitches at the edges, and you've learned all of that. So go ahead, work it up to the length that you desire, and I'll just go grab a piece that I did with this particular design and show you. So what did we learn today, guys? We learned how to choose a yarn and to know what the sizes are, right? Different sizes on different yarn. We learned about how to read that label on the yarn to know what size hook we needed. Then we learned how to make a slip knot using your hook to start. And you can use a slip knot and make a slip knot any way you want, as long as it gets on the hook. Then we learned how to chain, which is abbreviated CH in patterns. Then we learned how to DC, which is abbreviated DC, which is double crochet in a pattern. And we learned how to crochet in a back loop. We learned how to keep our edges straight. So guys, for the learning video, I think you're on a roll. You can go ahead and make scarves and blankets just from what we have done today. All right, thank you for joining me, and let me know what you think and if you have any questions. Okay, thank you. Subscribe, push that like button, and comment. And real quickly before this win, we have to pack up and going out of this wing, I wanted to show you what your finished product will look like. I mean, this is another yarn that I'd used for the pattern that you're doing, and this is how it works out. Beautiful ridges, you know, texture, and like I said, you use different yarn. This one, if you notice, the color of the yarn slightly changes, and that's how it works out. But guys, that's your beautiful pattern that you're working on, and guess what? You can do that as a beginner. Yes ma'am, yes sirs. All right, bye.